Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about this time? An oldie but a goodie. Final Fantasy 11. Still going on. Still has a monthly fee, which I think is odd, but so Final Fantasy 11 Final Fantasy 11, most maybe more inclined with Final Fantasy 14 because that's the more nowadays the more popular MMO out there, but Final Fantasy 11 is still going strong. And in 2025, they're trying to revamp the new player experience with some welcome changes on how the MMO works. So Final Fantasy 11, I think for me, was probably I may have played some other ones, but for Final Fantasy 11, for me personally, was one of the first MMOs I really got into. I guess before that, it would have been Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast, but if you want to call that an MMO, it kind of was. But Final Fantasy 11 was definitely the one that I really got into. So, and played a ton of. So after teetering on the edge of Eorzea for years, that's Final Fantasy 14. 14 is a great game. They just came out with a new expansion, Dawn Trail, which I haven't played yet. I think I'm on the last expansion before that. But I've played a ton of 14. But anyway, Final Fantasy 11 is looking to bring players back in with a new player experience. So Square Enix has some huge 2025 plans, including improved solo play as the top of their list. If you've played Final Fantasy 14, you'll know that game you can play pretty much solo. There's whenever you do dungeons, I think the only thing you can't do that on is raids, but dungeons and stuff like that, you can bring in NPCs that help you along with the dungeons. I think WoW ended up introducing something like that as well into some of their dungeons. So a lot of these games are having that because there's a lot of players that love to play, but they just don't have a lot of people to play with, or they don't like to play with other people. Not necessarily they don't like to play with other people, but sometimes it's hard to get a group together, or, everybody's toxic. So some people just like to group with NPCs. Because, some people are like, oh, you don't know how to play your build, but, whatever. And it's like, I'm just trying to have fun. So anyway, if you're familiar with that stuff, Final Fantasy 11 is a quite challenging MMO. I don't know if anybody's ever played it, but it is a hard MMO. It's a classic. It's difficult. So Square Enix is taking aim at Final Fantasy 11's new player experience from 2025 and beyond. From a new open letter, the Final Fantasy 11 producer celebrates how far the game has come in the last 2 decades, but also looks to the future. It says last year's player survey has helped Square Enix decide where the game is going to go next, with 2 major development points. Many players tend to play solo or with a fixed group. Adding that while Final Fantasy 11 offers diverse variety of content, they have mostly fulfilled their character progression purposes for our current players. Thus, there is a need for new adventures. These 2 points will be our main focus as we proceed with revisiting the game's character progression, which will primarily entail renewing, refining, and making quality of life changes to existing content. Quality of life changes are always good, and especially if you have an old MMO, that's one of the best things you can possibly do for any old game is make quality of life changes. Examples of these revisions include the Limbus revamp and item level support for Besieged, which were detailed in a video. So you can check out the video online. As these sorts of changes are implemented, we will continue monitoring feedback and make further adjustments with our goals of providing an enjoyable experience with our adventures. But that's not all, however, as Square Enix is also going to revamp Final Fantasy XI's alter ego system as well. If you're unfamiliar, the alter ego systems are NPCs you can recruit and level up to help you with battle content, which in turn makes it easier to play Final Fantasy XI solo. If you played Final Fantasy 14, it's very similar to the trust system that one has. Square Enix is going to enhance alter egos in a few ways. For starters, the team will inform new and returning players of the mechanic. And add even more opportunities into the MMO for you to obtain them. They say upgrading alter egos is just one of the updates we have in mind. We'll be carefully planning and implementing each feature at a time. We'll be informing you of our progress through our version update news and other channels. So we hope you'll look forward to hearing more. So if you've been considering going back into Final Fantasy XI, or maybe trying it for the first time, you can keep an eye out on these changes that Square Enix has planned. Solo play is about to get massive overhauls with the alter ego system, and general progression will be improved to make the experience of Final Fantasy XI even smoother. If you've ever played Final Fantasy XI or any old MMOs, it is very old school. There's no question marks above NPCs' heads. You don't know where to go or what to do. It's pretty much just kind of like you're in the world, figure it out, right? And that's how a lot of old MMOs were. EverQuest and Azran's Call and all these old MMOs were exactly like that, right? It wasn't until WoW came around that, you know, the exclamation point above characters' heads and all that kind of stuff, the quality of life changes that made, or introduced, I should say, really kind of started that progression with a lot of other games from that point on, right? Whereas Final Fantasy XI is still, it's a very old game and it still has that same thing, but they're looking to put in quality of life changes. I don't know if they'll start doing like, they may already have this, I don't know, but exclamation points, because it's been a long time since I played, but exclamation points above characters' head and stuff. Maybe they started introducing that type of stuff, because before, I remember playing the game, you had to go talk to every single NPC to see if they had a quest, right? And then if they didn't, you talk to the next one. And then when you got the quest, it was kind of like a little bit of a description, and you're pretty much figuring out where the hell you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. So, yeah, and the game is very difficult. So that'll be nice to help introduce a new era of players, right? Final Fantasy XI probably has their people that play it nowadays, but that's the thing with these old MMOs. You've got to do changes to usher in a new era of players into your MMO. Otherwise, your MMO becomes stale and then dies off, right? Only the existing players can only keep it alive for so long, right? So you've got to revitalize your existing game if you want new players to come in and play it. So hopefully that's what Square Enix is looking at to do, is revitalize Final Fantasy XI to bring in new players, revamp the new player experience and things like that, to bring in new players into the MMO. Maybe some of the people that play 14, maybe bringing them into that, or some people that are looking for like an old school style MMO, but don't want to go through all the old school like tropes of difficulty of play. So we'll go around and see what everybody else thinks. Pat, did you play Final Fantasy XI? What did you think of these changes?
No, I did not play Final Fantasy XI, because Final Fantasy XI is a game that could use a facelift. It needs a remaster. I think Final Fantasy XI looked old when I tried to get into it. So, and I'm a visual person with the games. Everybody knows that. I'm a big graphics matter to me, and Final Fantasy XI looks old, and so I could never get into it. In my opinion, it looked dated back 20 years ago when it came out or so. So to me, it just looked already kind of dated. But I mean, Final Fantasy 14 looked really bad before they killed it with the meteor, I thought, and then it came back, looked a lot better. So I have played 14, but 11, I wanted to get into 11, but to me, it just it looked too clunky to me, and I didn't want to take the time. Because it just looks based off the looks alone, and I didn't have friends playing it, I just couldn't get into it. While all this sounds cool, this is a game that could use a facelift, a remaster, and then it would probably be just a lot better. Just remaster it, redo all the graphics, shaders, all of it, and then I could probably get into it. I mean, because quality of life changes aren't going to matter to me if I just can't visually get over the appeal, the look of the game. So it doesn't appeal to me because of that. Just like, I love Dark Age of Camelot, but that game is so badly dated that if you can find people that are running servers and stuff, it's just, I can't get into it nowadays just because it looked bad, it looks dated, compared to what we have today. So little in that aspect, I'm too snobbish for that, unfortunately. But and Final Fantasy 11 games or Final Fantasy games in general for the MMOs are not just straightforward, right? 14 has got its own tropes of issues. Like, I hate the error quest lines, because if you get behind, good luck catching up. It's like the worst. It's the worst quest design of any system. I think that era quests are in 14 because they're just so long. I think what was it? The Umbral era to the Astral era was like over 100 quests, and I'm like, just so I can get to the new content, I got to do 100 quests. No, thank you.
Yeah, they did reduce that down.
I heard
think.
somebody said that you could even skip it now, the entire era quest line. So
I know that was a big issue with a lot of people, not
because
just
it locked you from getting that. You may be like level capped past the level.
First, story quest line was it was really long. So I think I know they cut out like some of the kind of filler quests and quests that didn't really need to be there.
Right.
And maybe now you can just skip it all together.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool that they're keeping the game alive because it's from what I understand, it's still got a good amount of player base, a large player base. So which is cool. You don't see many games, outside that are keeping up with the old school look and not remastering it or at least giving it a new facelift. Because I see there's a lot of modders out there giving it facelifts. I saw a lot of mods for it when I was looking at it, going, could I just do the mod? And because some of the mods look really good out there to give it a facelift. So. It's kind of cool that it's still alive. Still looks like the original game to me anyway, which surprises me. But I mean, people still play Asheron's Call, and all that EverQuest and all that stuff back, old school, those without changes to the looks of them. So, to each their own, I guess. Final Fantasy is a good series, but 11 to me just looks too dated. Quality of life to me is it needs an overhaul in the graphics department. I'm not sure they'll do that, but hopefully they will. Because if they actually brought the graphics up to modern, I'd be like, let's jump in today and go take a peek at it and play it.
They had talked about doing that a while back. I don't know what's happened to that because that was quite a while ago that they talked about doing a whole from the ground up graphical revamp of that one. But it's kind of, it was talked about and then that kind of died off. And I don't know where that's at now.
Yeah, because I saw a discussion board when I was looking through the news article on this thing that SIE was actually talking about canceling it. It almost got canceled, like shut it down. Not canceled, but shut it down. It almost got shut down. And I'm like, I thought there was quite a bit of players in that thing. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, I couldn't get into it because to me it looks dated. So, and that's a problem for me. I unfortunately need the curb appeal of video games to be appealing to the eyes. That's me though. Like I said, I can overlook it sometimes, but it looks 20 years old to me. It looks older. So, and I just can't get by that. I can't get over that, to some extent. I want something visually appealing when I'm playing it. And that's just getting worse and worse as we get into more games moving like Unreal Engine 5 and stuff. And they're just like, ooh, this looks pretty and shiny. And then you go back and you're like, this looks polygonic and flat. And, and you're like, I can't do this. My guy looks like instead of an arm, he's got like a weird twig with weird little straight line shapes and everything and fingers that don't look right and things, so it's like a wedged hand with just some lines drawn for the fingers, and you're just like, okay, I can't get around that. So to me, I need it to be more visually appealing. I'm glad it's still going on. I loved Final Fantasy 14. I'm pretty sure I would like 11, but 14 just got to the point where I got so far behind and I'm like, I just can't catch up. Because they put out expansions like freaking crazy. And then there's always adding something new. And I'm like, ooh, what's this? Oh, man, I need to spend so much time digging into this new system they put into play that I'm lost on everything else.
Every patch with 14 has content.
Yeah. And you're like, what'd they add this time? Oh, they added this and they added that. Well, how do I do this? And how do I add? And next thing you know, you're not actually playing the game. You're digging into a new job or profession or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm stuck now. And then you're like, oh, that's because I need to progress through the Astral Era quest lines or the Eric line quest lines because there's Umbral and Astra and all these other ones. And I'm just like, I find that very tedious and boring in those. I play MMOs, to be honest with you, for the group play. That's why I play them most. To me, the quests can get in the way. I understand the quests are trying to tell the story, but at some point you're like, what's filler quest versus what's story quest? And they do a pretty good job with the icons in like 14. I've not played 11, so I can't say what that one's like. So, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I got to do all these that have this emblem around them. And then you Google it and you're like, oh, I think I'm not because I don't have that much time. So I love a good MMO and I don't have one that I'm playing currently. I play EVE Online when I can, stuff like that, but I need a good MMO. We need a good MMO. We got to get one that Shane will play, but Shane don't play MMOs. So Shane, what do you think about Final Fantasy 11 MMO? Would you play it?
No.
As it is today?
No.
Even if it was free?
I love Final Fantasy. I'm one of its biggest supporters and fans of the series, the entire series. I just don't want to pay a monthly fee for something I buy. It's an idiosyncrasy with me, but it's just the way I am. I don't want to pay $30 and then pay another. I think this is what $10, $12 a month still.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't. That's just not me. Now, that being said, though, if it wasn't for a monthly fee, I would definitely jump into it because I don't mind an older graphic game. Nick plays everything. I play a lot of things. Pat plays only what is pretty. Pat's a pretty person. He wants pretty things. So that's just me. But I do like the ideal that that they're wanting to do this, and I think as far as the big MMO players like Nick, they're kind of excited about it. That's great and all, but I personally think Square Enix should focus, and I guess that depends on how much money they make a month on their on Final Fantasy 11, because I honestly forgot it was a thing. I really did. I know 14's going on strong, and they've done a lot for it, but I forgot 11 was a thing. So that's if they're still making money on it, great. If this is something they feel they can do to make continue that, great. But I personally would rather see them focus on Final Fantasy 7 Regurgitate, or whatever the hell the new one's going to be called. I'd rather see them focus on Final Fantasy 8 remaster fully from the ground up, which will never happen. Shut up, Nick. Don't crap on my dreams, you bastard. I would rather them focus on those types of things, the single player, because 16 was a letdown on the overall. It truly was. 15 was really good. I love 15. Except for, trying to play the multiplayer portion of it was ridiculously stupid trying to do. I think we got it to work twice. But if they're going to continue to support this, that to me is a good thing, even though it's not something that I'm into. But hopefully, they're going to make money on it, and they're going to be able to continue to support it, and the people that are still playing it will still be able to enjoy it. Nick, you play 14 occasionally too. So is there, what's the big difference between the MMO style of each one? Because I played 14 a bit, trying to catch up with you guys, and I didn't do very good doing that, because once the free trial ran out, I'm like, I don't want to pay. But I mean, it's still something I enjoyed when I did it, but I was so far behind you and Pat that it was almost a pointless gesture for me to even try. So, but what's the big gameplay difference that, between 11 and 14?
It's really just the biggest gameplay difference between the two is really just the old school aspect of 11, right?
Yeah.
11 is like how MMOs used to be, and 14 is more how MMOs are now, which is like much easier,
modern,
more modern, like
more solo play,
stuff like that.
Which is kind of counterintuitive to an MMO, in my opinion.
Right.
But
I mean, 11 is like, well, until they make these changes, 11 is like, you better group up with other players. Otherwise, you're going to have a very slow experience, right? You can solo in 11, yes, but it's going to take you twice as long to get through the content as if you were to group up. And dungeons or even some content in the world, you have to group up to get through.
Yeah,
in
it's
11,
like a lot of people to take down a world boss or something, right?
Or just to get through an area. Like there's one area where you have to get to
everything's a group mob,
Sandy Coast area, like the Sandy Coast area where there's a boat that you have to get through, and you have to go through this like tunnel area. Now you can get through there solo. It's just slow, and you got to like take time your moves through an area. But the best way to go through that area is with other players. And that's just a normal level area. It's just to get from point A to point B, right? In 14, you can get through all the entire game by yourself, besides dungeons and raids, right? You can go through all the content and everything by yourself. And even in 14 now, you can do all the dungeons by yourself because they have the trust system, which is the NPCs, which is what they're introducing into 11 with the alter egos. The only thing you can't do the NPCs with is raids. Raids still require actual people, but unless they've changed that. But last time I played it, you have to do raids with individual people. So that's the biggest difference, really. It's just the old school aspect, right? 11 is like EverQuest, Azran's Call, all the Dark Age Camelot, like all the old school MMOs and how MMOs used to be. And 14 is more modern, like how WoW, not WoW Classic, but WoW regular retail is today, and like 14 and all these new MMOs that come out. They all basically follow the same formula.
You know what quality of life really needs to get fixed on Final Fantasy 11 is play online in their launcher.
Yes, they're still using that, and that's freaking horrible.
And they still use the whole. Last I looked, I have not looked in like a couple of years, but they still do the whole Krista system and the subscription is not clearly lined out, right? Because I think the base subscription's like I can't remember. It came up to like $11 or $12, and then you had like a character fee, and you're like, what the hell is this character fee? What's this wardrobe fee? And they tack on fee after fee after fee for play online, and I'm like, I have no clue what all these does.
Which is extra stuff that if you want it, but
they don't explain it very well. Like, what is the character? What is the character fee? And
it's very difficult to. The thing about 11, one of the biggest hurdles with 11, at least hopefully they've changed it since then, but one of the biggest hurdles with 11 is trying to pay for a subscription to play it.
Yeah, you got to buy the Kristas first.
Well, even the Play Online launcher is so convoluted that it's not like click this button to subscribe. It's like click this, go through these menus, jump these hoops, go through this flaming, whatever, and then it's like, oh, there's how you get your subscription. Whereas 14, you just go on there, click subscribe, and you're subscribed, right?
Yeah.
And it's much easier. And so
because they actually revamped theirs from like the whole. I don't know if they still use Mog Station for 14.
I think they still use the Mog
Station. But it used to be Krista purchase too. I don't know if it still is, but you used to have to purchase Krista to get your subscriptions, and then
now it's your normal system, which is what 11 needs to transition over.
If
they haven't. Krista. But last time I played 11 was in 2020, so
yeah, I've not played it.
So.
Yeah, I know. Looking to get into it.
2002, 3, somewhere in there.
It's been a long time. I don't know the exact date of 11.
I mean, it came out after 10, obviously, but
obviously, yeah, it came out in
2002. Okay,
May 16th of 2002.
So yeah, it's over 20 years old now. It's old enough to drink in the US.
And I played it from the very start. Me and a buddy. He was a white mage, and I was a tank. So we could go through the content a lot together because he would heal me and I would tank all the monsters and stuff. And yeah, it was cool because back then it was kind of like, Star Wars Galaxies and stuff like that, where, it wasn't like in 14 where you could just change jobs. Like in order to get to get your second job in 11, you had to go through this whole like quest line where you had to go meet these NPCs that you didn't know where they were. And you had to go talk to specific ones and do specific things. And then you would unlock your secondary class. And then you would it would combine your primary class and that secondary class to create that new class. And so like at the time back then, people with secondary classes were like, not kind of like the Jedi in Star Wars Galaxies, but I mean, everybody could be one, right? It wasn't just like, it wasn't as convoluted as that, but it was still like, oh, cool. You got your secondary class. That's awesome. Because you had to go through a lot of hoops and stuff to get it. So it was a real big achievement, right? I don't think it's as big of an achievement nowadays to get your secondary class as it was. I think they've kind of streamlined that or made that a little bit easier because I remember I had mine originally in the old Final Fantasy. I went with the samurai class, but yeah, I mean, like me and my buddy, because again, he was a white mage, he had to help me and him both had to go through and figure out how to get that secondary class and go through because you had to go through like dungeons and get certain items and stuff. And then you had to take the items back to the person to craft the piece that you would put on your character that would make you a samurai and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah.
Yep.
Whereas now in 14, it's like, you want to be a samurai? Great. Click this button. You're a samurai now. And that's, and that's how, all the modern ones are.
Yeah.
The way life should be. Pay to be a samurai.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is kind of the old school way of doing it, but I haven't played 11 in a long time. I would love to play 11 again because I do enjoy that one, but I'm just surprised they haven't done.
Convince them to give it a graphics overhaul and I'll play with you.
I'm surprised they haven't made it free to play.
I have the PS2 disc.
So they have 1.7 million active subscriptions. That's why they're not going free to play.
Yeah, they still have a pretty healthy subscriber base.
So if you're paying $12 a month at the minimum,
for that old of a game, they have a pretty healthy subscriber base.
Yeah.
My God, what does that work out to from launch day to now? If you've been on it every frickin' month.
You don't even want to think about that because I remember I remember doing the calculation for WoW back in the day. I'm like, oh my God, how much have I spent on this game? Yeah, it's kind of like going and looking in your Steam library, your Steam wallet, and seeing how much you've spent in Steam of its entire lifetime, because you can do that. And you're just like, I should not have looked at that.
Yeah, because I played 11, I played WoW. Well, I played the beta, and then I played WoW when it came out. And for a very long time, all the way up to the Lich King expansion.
Yeah. So, if everybody just did the base subscription and they had 1.7 million subscribers, that's $20 million a month.
So what you're saying is they're not going bankrupt anytime soon.
Yeah. No. They probably have a handful of people on the dev team that do anything but like bug fixes and stuff. Because I don't know how much content they drop.
They drop about as much. They drop not as much, but they do regular content drops, just like 14.
Okay. Well, so they, I don't know what their development team, but like I said, it makes $20 million a month at minimum with, because you can't play there's no free to play from my understanding. So the basic service fee is roughly $12. It's the 2000 Krista or whatever.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So
start your free trial.
Yeah. I'm out till it looks better, till it looks pretty.
That's what my ex said to me.
It's still on the market.
Anyway.
All
right. You guys got anything else you want to add to this?
Make it look pretty and I'll play.
Yeah. I would love for them to do a graphical overhaul for it. It definitely needs it. These older games, even that and like Anarchy Online, I know that still has I think that still has a subscription model and that still has quite a few players, but it looks very old and it's very dated.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got its players, right? And so does 11. So
yep.
Anyway,
it matters.
No, that's all that matters. So is EverQuest. EverQuest is still being played. I don't think it has a subscription model, though. I think EverQuest is free to play, if I remember right. But I think they have like a VIP mode that you can pay for that comes with extra perks and stuff. But I think the game overall is free to play. But anyway, yep. But let us know down in the comments below. Do you still play Final Fantasy 11? If not, what MMOs do you play, or what are you looking forward to? The Chrono Odyssey, I think, is having their beta test or something like that coming up here soon. So that looks like an interesting one. I don't know how it'll be, but we'll see. But otherwise, let us know down in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already. Helps out. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.
See ya.